Hey, welcome P-Dub Sports Podcast fans. It's your boy Proven Winner here, and I've got something special for you today. We're going to ESPN, and we're trying to bring you guys guests with value that you would be interested in and what they have to say. And so, what better sports focused, job than someone at ESPN? And we're lucky to have David Bearman, ESPN's deputy editor of sports betting. So in the sports betting community, David Bearman is going to tell us a little bit about his job responsibilities at ESPN. We're going to touch on the NFL draft, and we'll see where it goes from there. So let's bring David in without further ado and get him on the show. David, good morning.
Hey, how's it going, bud?
Good, man. We're happy to have you here. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day and coming on the P-Dub podcast. We're excited about it.
Well, thanks for having me. Excited.
Sure, for sure. So I think we open up, we tell the community a little bit about what you do at ESPN. I think that will set the nice stage for, for what's to come later on down the show.
Yeah, sure. Deputy editor of sports betting. I oversee a lot of our sports betting content at ESPN. Helped launch Daily Wager over 2 years ago in March 2019. It was our first 5-day-a-week program, now 6 days a week of 1 hour of full sports betting content on ESPN2 from 6 to 7 o'clock. Now I'm over on the digital side overseeing ESPN Chalk. It's our ESPN vertical website of all sports betting content, where we daily have our best bets, our picks, and our columns. David Purdom, Doug Kazarian, Joe Fortenbaugh, Anita Marks, and the likes, all on ESPN Chalk. And basically work with our betting partners in Caesars, William Hill, and DraftKings to provide all of the betting content you could think of. You watched the draft last week and you saw all the draft props. We had a column that had upwards of 75 different selections of best bets for props that were in that column. We do NBA twice a week on Chalk, and Daily Wager has their best bets every single day, Monday through Friday, and occasionally on Saturday on ESPN2.
That's amazing. So at what point do you feel like it switched to where, sports betting was kind of looked at from a negative side of things, not really nationally televised, odds weren't on ESPN. At what point did it switch and ESPN kind of make that decision to go more public with it?
Well, like most things in the sports betting world, it begins and ends with the overturned Supreme Court ruling of PASPA back in 2018. We had always tried pushing sports betting content at ESPN. It just was only legal in one state. So, the executives and at ESPN and Disney weren't going to go ahead and push stuff that was illegal in 49 of the 50 states, and understandably so. We continued to buy databases and push betting content when we could in the right spots. Like you always would see odds to win the Super Bowl, odds to win the NBA Finals. Occasionally you would see NFL MVP stuff when it was allowed. So that type of stuff still got integrated into SportsCenter. You always saw bad beats on Scott Van Pelt's show. And of course, College Game Day does their picks at the end of every show, and they would hint at the betting line as they were talking about who was going to win, but they wouldn't push it too far. All that changed when PASPA was overturned in 2018, where we realized now it's going to be legal state to state. And if it's going to be legal state to state, we can talk about it. We can open up the doors a little bit. We did a pilot that fall of Daily Wager to send it up to the ESPN and Disney executives. And we got greenlit for a show starting in March Madness of 2019, where Daily Wager went on the air. We've had the Chalk website about 7 years now. So we have had betting content. We just decided at that point we were going to grow it in form of a daily show, as well as a YouTube show, Bet, that Joe Fortenbaugh and Tyler Fulsham do, that is on a couple of days a week on YouTube, as well as expand what we're doing on Chalk. So now it's as you see all over the place, and we're doing more and more every single day.
That's amazing. So I'm interested to know, and you may or may not know the answer to this question. What are the ratings for like a Daily Wager show, maybe compared to like a Sports Center? I mean, is it hand in hand, or is it significantly higher for Sports Center?
Well, SportsCenter is always going to be higher. It's the flagship show. It's on ESPN1, which is in a lot more homes than ESPN2 and ESPN News and elsewhere. The first year of Daily Wager was on ESPN News, which is a lot lower, sometimes not rated network. But it is comparable to the other stuff that would be on ESPN2 at that time. So, before, a lot of ESPN2 was either taped programming or re-airs of The Jump or re-air of NFL Live. It's comparable in that respect. Nothing's going to compare to SportsCenter. That is the flagship program that is on, multiple times a day on ESPN1. But it's doing extremely well for the channel that it's on and the time slot it's on. It's also going up against SportsCenter at 6 o'clock Monday through Friday.
I got a question for you. Maybe somebody's out there watching, like they want to work for ESPN, right? What is that process like? I mean, it's the most, best sports betting channel in the world by far, or sports channel by far, most well known. How hard is it to work for ESPN?
Well, I mean, they do have jobs open from time to time. ESPNcareers.com and DisneyCareers.com does have the job board out there. Everybody has a different story. In my case, I was working as a PR director in minor league baseball out in Albuquerque, and I had done some work for some features that ESPN was putting on one of their channels, and they came out to Albuquerque, and I had done some help, and I gave them my resume. But to tell you how hard it is to get into the door, I had done work for ESPN on a freelance basis,
Hmm.
gave one of the producers my resume, and then it took another 18 months before I even got a phone call. And
Wow.
by the time I got the phone call, I almost had forgotten that I had given someone my resume and put me through a battery of sports trivia questions because it was basically a job in the ESPN stats and research department, which is where I started. And you go through a whole bunch of online and on the phone tests, and then depending on how you score, you would get to the next step, speak to a different person, and then continue interviewing. It took me probably 4 or 5 different interviews before I got the call to come to Bristol. And then when you come to Bristol, you're not the only one that's coming there, but you get interviewed all day long. It was about a 9-hour process where you're going with researchers to show meetings, and you're going into the studio and you're meeting with the various managers of the department and telling them how you can help ESPN grow in the stats department. Now, that was only my path. Other people have started as production assistants behind the cameras and helping out, cut highlights and shot sheets and get on. And some people go the on-air anchor route. And they go to small cities across America before their tape gets to ESPN. We have over 7,000 employees. So like I said, every single job is different. In my case, I was heavy into working in major and minor league baseball for the Marlins and their affiliates, as well as working in college athletics at Florida. And all that got together, and I got a entry level stats research job back in 2005, then grew into what I'm currently doing.
Beautiful, beautiful. My last question, you mentioned Bristol. How often do you get to go to the flagship Bristol and hang out at the studios?
Well, before COVID, every single day. I was in
Okay.
the office every single day for the first 15 years of my career.
Wow. Okay.
I spent majority of my time in the Bristol studios, and if I wasn't in the Bristol studios, I was on the road traveling with the shows. I would travel with our golf remotes to U.S., British, and the Masters, U.S., British Opens, and the Masters, and traveled to BCS National Championship games and or the college football playoff as part of my role of helping the studio programming. Did a couple of game days with Chris the Bear Felica, so a lot of travel with the guys. But for the most part, I'm based. My house right now is 10 minutes away from the studios. I
Okay.
go in there occasionally now post COVID, but obviously with everything else, not everybody goes back into the office. But yeah, the first 15 years I spent working, a couple of feet away from the studios. And when we did the shows, we were in the studios. So basically the first 6.5 years of my career, I was in a studio every single day supporting the on-air talent.
It's awesome. That's amazing. Hey, I appreciate you giving us a little bit of insight into ESPN. I mean, I think the viewers will appreciate that because it's not often that we get to hear, kind of the inside story from ESPN. So I do appreciate that. Hey, I noticed that Dolphins jersey in the background. I mean, I'm assuming you're a Dolphins fan, but who's your team?
Dolphins fan, born and raised down in Miami. As a Dolphin season ticket holder. It's been in the family since 1969. I still have season tickets to this day. I have a seat from the old stadium right over there. Big Dolphins fan. I usually go home once a year to a game, and I'll go to the Dolphins Jets game in town here, which is only about an hour and a half away. And whenever I feel like getting my butt kicked, I'll go over to Foxborough and see the Dolphins and the Patriots play.
So why don't you give us a little bit of opinion and we'll close it out with the Dolphins draft overall, or if you want to just touch on Waddle and their first round selection.
I thought the
I'd like to hear
Dolphins.
from you.
I thought they had a strong draft. I know there's a lot of people out there that wanted Kyle Pitts or wanted Jamar Chase. The Dolphins made the decision about a month ago to trade down from 3 to 12 and then back up to 6. They identified Waddle as their guy. I like Waddle. I think he's an absolutely awesome athlete, and I think that he has breakaway speed. He's allegedly the fastest guy in the draft. He gets open all the time. He's also a punt and a kick returner. They identified him as the guy they wanted. They were able to trade down, get some picks for 2022 and 2023, and still get their guy. And I really am intrigued by their second first round pick, number 18. They got Jalen Phillips from the University of Miami. Obviously comes with a little bit of a risk since he was forced to retire 2 years ago due to concussions. came back, transferred to Miami, played with the Hurricanes last year, and arguably was one of the top defenders in the nation. Kuiper and McShay had him rated as a top 5 player. Also had him rated as the top defensive end rusher in the draft, but the injury concerns is what pushed him down to 18. So I can sit here comfortably and say the Dolphins got arguably one of the top playmakers in the draft in Jalen Waddle and arguably the best defensive end in the draft in Jalen Phillips. I thought they were both really, really good picks. The only disappointment for me as a Dolphins fan is I really thought we needed to hit that running back in the top of the second round, and they'll let Denver go ahead of them and get Javonte Williams. But from what I have been told by some of our NFL Nation writers and people who covered the Dolphins is they were going with Holland, the safety out of Oregon, all along in the top of the second round, regardless if Williams was there. But that meant that they weren't going to take a running back, and they didn't until late in the 7th round. But I think overall, when you add Holland in the second round, and then they traded up to get Liam Eckelberger in middle of the second round, which is an offensive tackle that they actually did need to support the other 3 linemen that they drafted last year. And then I think their next round pick, getting the tight end out of Boston College, Long, was one of the higher rated tight ends. He's not Kyle Pitts, but he was one of the best tight ends in the league last year. So I think they drafted for need. They got a tackle, they got a playmaker, they got a huge edge rusher, and they got a tight end that I think is very strong that'll play well in the future. So I'm happy with it. I think that the reaction is mixed among Dolphins fans, but in terms of draft experts, whether it's Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Yahoo, NFL Network, Fox, all of them have the Dolphins as the top 5 draft, and I agree with that.
Outstanding. Where do you see the Dolphins finishing in the upcoming season?
I think they're a fringe playoff team. I know they went 10-6 last year and just missed out, losing on that 7 seed. With the 7 playoff teams getting in, that gives them an extra shot to get there. And I think I don't see them winning division over the Bills. I think the Bills are a better team still. I do think the Dolphins can battle for one of those wild card spots and get in there.
All right, as we finish up here, this is kind of a hot topic, I think, at least in my opinion. Who's the best quarterback drafted, out of the top 3? Are you liking Lawrence Wilson or Lance to, really set themselves apart from the other?
I really think Trevor Lawrence is a generational quarterback. He's going to be really good in the NFL, and he's got, and I'm a little biased towards Urban Meyer having, gone to Florida, but Urban Meyer is probably the perfect coach for Trevor Lawrence to he can run not necessarily the pro style offense that Lawrence would probably have to do under a different NFL quarterback, but can mix in some of the college stuff that Urban knows and some of the spread formations. As far as the rest of them, I'm actually quite surprised. I thought Justin Fields was the second best quarterback in the draft, and he obviously went much later in the first round when the Bears traded up for him. Nothing against Trey Lance. I haven't seen enough of Trey Lance. From what I hear and understand, he could be the next great phenom in the NFL. So I'm excited to see that. But all along, I thought that Justin Fields would have been the way to go. And I know Mac Jones fell as well, but we haven't seen much of Mac Jones other than 1 year. And we didn't see much of Trey Lance other than, a couple of games. To me, Justin Fields was the second best quarterback. That's where I would have gone, but I don't coach the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, I appreciate your insight, David. We're going to wrap up here. I appreciate you jumping on the show. I like these quick in and out type of podcasts. I think they provide a lot of value, and the listeners got in a lot of insight into ESPN. So I hope to have you on the show again. I do appreciate you jumping on, and I think we're going to leave it with that. So.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you on 10, 15 minutes. That was good. Good. Fast.
All right.
Quick and good. Hopefully it helped out.
All right, David. Appreciate your time, and have a good rest of your day. Appreciate it.
You too.
All right. So PDUP podcast listeners, we just had David Bearman on. That was a amazing show, if you ask me. I mean, that's what we're going to be providing here, just a different type of a level to the podcast. And so we're going to provide all sorts of different, avenues as you guys have heard already. We're going to be to the investing side, obviously the ESPN side, the sportsbook side, other handicappers. And so I'm going to plug myself in here. Follow me on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. Instagram at Proven Winner Private, Twitter's at Proven Winner, and YouTube PW Sports Podcast. All right. And we got a special today, BOGO week. We've been on absolute fire. We went 9-0 on promos over the weekend ATS. And so buy one, get one free. I'm hooking you guys up. So I appreciate you guys listening in, and we are out for today on the morning podcast with P-Dub. Everybody have a beautiful, beautiful day.